Commander Alex Harrison stood at the viewport of the U.S. Intrepid, watching the stars. His ship hung in the darkness of space, waiting. After years of sending signals into the void, humanity had finally gotten an answer. Aliens were real, and they were coming to meet them. "Status report," Harrison said to the bridge crew. "All systems normal, sir," said Officer Ryan Lee from his console. "The alien ship will dock in 10 minutes. Harrison nodded. His mouth felt dry. This was not just any alien race. These were the Voidseers, known across the galaxy as the smartest beings alive. Their technology was hundreds of years ahead of any other species. Their science could predict the future with scary accuracy. But something was wrong. "Sir," said Lieutenant Olivia Taylor as she walked up beside him. Her face looked worried. "The Voidseers still refuse to scan our ships. This breaks all first contact rules." Harrison frowned. "I know." Every other alien race they had met in the past 5 years had done full scans of human ships before talking. It was standard practice across the galaxy. No one trusted anyone else without checking for weapons first. "Permission to speak freely, sir?" Taylor asked. "Go ahead." "I don't trust them," she said in a low voice. "If they're so smart, why break basic safety rules? It makes no sense." Harrison looked at the approaching alien ship through the viewport. It was beautiful, like a pearl that glowed with its own light, much more advanced than the blocky human warships. "That's exactly what worries me, Lieutenant," he said. "They know something we don't." The ship's AI spoke over the comm system. "Alien delegation approaching docking bay 3. Harrison straightened his uniform. "Time to meet our guests. Lieutenant Taylor, you're with me." They walked through the metal halls of the Intrepid, passing crew members who tried to look busy but couldn't hide their excitement or fear. First contact was always a big deal, but meeting the Voidseers was special. These aliens had helped many young space-traveling races join the galactic community. The docking bay doors opened with a soft hiss. Standing there were 3 tall figures with skin that seemed to flow with colors like oil on water. They had 2 arms, 2 legs, and faces that looked almost human, except for their eyes. Their eyes were deep pools of shifting light, like looking into tiny galaxies. The middle alien stepped forward. It was taller than the others, its skin shifting between blue and green colors. When it spoke, its voice was musical and perfect. "Commander of Earth vessel, thank you for your welcome. I am Ambassador Xilrian of the Voidseers." Harrison gave a small bow. "Ambassador, welcome aboard the U.S. Intrepid. I am Commander Alex Harrison of the United Earth Fleet." The alien's skin flashed with yellow spots, a sign of happiness, Harrison guessed. "I must apologize for our unusual approach," Xilrian said. "I know we have broken standard protocol by not scanning your vessels." Harrison kept his face calm. "May I ask why, Ambassador?" The alien's skin suddenly flashed deep red before returning to a calm blue. "Some knowledge is dangerous, Commander Harrison. Some things, once seen, cannot be unseen." Taylor shifted beside Harrison, her hand moving slightly closer to her weapon. "Your species is," the alien paused, "unique in ways we prefer not to measure directly." Harrison felt a chill run down his spine. What could make the smartest beings in the galaxy afraid to look too closely at humans? "I understand your concern," Harrison said, though he didn't. "Please, follow me to our meeting room. We have much to discuss." As they walked, Harrison couldn't shake the feeling that this meeting would change everything. The Voidseers knew something about humanity, something they didn't want to confirm with their scans. And Harrison wasn't sure he wanted to know what it was. Admiral Elizabeth Porter looked around the table at the officers she had called to Earth's orbital headquarters. The room was secure. No signals could get in or out. What they would discuss today was for their ears only. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly," she said, tapping her fingers on the metal table. "The Voidseers, who are known to be extremely careful, refuse to scan our ships. Yet they offered to share advanced technology with us right away. Commander Harrison nodded. Yes, Admiral. They didn't ask for the usual 100-year waiting period. They seem eager to work with us quickly. Admiral Porter frowned. That doesn't add up. The room was quiet. Everyone knew what this meant. In space politics, gifts usually had strings attached. Big gifts meant big strings. Dr. Samuel Wilson cleared his throat. The chief science officer was known for being quiet, so when he spoke, people listened. Admiral, I've been studying the technical data they shared with us, he said. Their scanning technology is amazing. It doesn't just see what's there now. It sees what might be there in the future. Lieutenant Taylor, who had been at the first meeting with the aliens, leaned forward. What do you mean, Doctor? They call it quantum probability scanning. Dr. Wilson explained. They don't just scan for metals or energy readings. They scan for possible futures. Admiral Porter's eyes narrowed. Are you saying they can see the future? Not exactly, Dr. Wilson said. They see patterns and possibilities, and they're extremely good at it. They claim they've never been wrong. Harrison rubbed his chin. So they're afraid of what they might see if they scan our ships. That's my theory, Wilson nodded. But there's something else that's strange. During my talk with their science expert, he mentioned something called the Fermi paradox solution. He seemed shocked when I didn't know what he was talking about. The Fermi paradox, asked Officer Ryan Lee. Isn't that the old question about why we hadn't found aliens yet, back before we actually did? Yes, Wilson said. It asks why, in such a big universe, we seem to be alone. One answer was that maybe advanced civilizations all destroy themselves once they reach a certain point. The room went quiet again as the officers thought about this. You think they believe we know why civilizations destroy themselves? Admiral Porter asked finally. I think they believe we've somehow avoided destroying ourselves when we shouldn't have been able to, Wilson said. And that scares them. Lieutenant Taylor shook her head. But that makes no sense. We've had our share of close calls with nuclear war and climate disasters, but we survived. Why would that scare the smartest aliens in the galaxy? Admiral Porter stood up and walked to the viewport. Earth shone blue and beautiful below. Maybe that's exactly it, she said quietly. Maybe we weren't supposed to survive. She turned back to the group. Commander Harrison, I want you to continue working closely with the Voidseers. Find out what they know about us that's making them act this way. Harrison nodded. Yes, Admiral. Dr. Wilson, dig deeper into their technology. If they're scanning for possible futures, I want to know how it works and what they've seen. Wilson nodded. Lieutenant Taylor, I want extra security around all meetings with the aliens. Be friendly, but watchful. Yes, Mom, Taylor said. As the meeting ended and the officers filed out, Admiral Porter stayed by the viewport, looking down at Earth. What makes us so special? She whispered to herself. And is it something we should be proud of or worried about? She didn't know the answer, but she had a feeling they would find out soon. And she wasn't sure they were going to like what they discovered. Junior Engineer Greg Mitchell wiped sweat from his forehead as he fixed the broken cooling system. He wasn't supposed to be in the secure section of the U.S. Intrepid, but when equipment breaks during the night shift and no senior engineers are available, sometimes you have to break the rules. Almost done, he muttered to himself, tightening the last bolt. The ship hummed around him, the sound of the engines a comfort to his ears. Greg loved this ship. It was his first posting after engineering school. A strange light caught his eye. He turned and froze. Near the ship's quantum core, the heart of the vessel's power system, stood one of the Voidseers. Its skin was changing colors rapidly, flashing from blue to green to yellow and back again. It held a small device in its hand, pointing it at the core. Greg slowly stood up. You're not allowed to be in this section, he said, his hand moving toward the communicator on his belt. The alien turned quickly, its galaxy-like eyes wide. Please, it said, its musical voice shaking. I had to know. I had to see. Greg stopped moving. See what? What are you doing? I performed a small scan, the alien admitted. My leaders forbid this. I disobeyed direct orders. Greg's heart beat faster. The aliens had refused to scan human ships. That was the big mystery everyone on board was talking about. Now this one had broken that rule. Why would you do that? Greg asked, curious despite the danger. The alien's skin settled into a deep purple color. Because we have been studying your species for many years. Our math models always predict the same thing for you, yet you keep proving them wrong. I needed to understand why. What do your models predict? Your end, the alien said simply. Your extinction. Greg felt cold despite the heat of the engine room. What do you mean? Every advanced species we have ever found follows the same path. They discover how to split the atom. They build thinking machines. Then they destroy themselves with war or damage their world beyond repair. It is what we call the Great Filter, the reason the galaxy is mostly empty of intelligent life. Greg frowned, trying to understand. But we didn't destroy ourselves. Yes, the alien whispered. You survived what no others have. And now I know why. Suddenly, the alien's skin flashed brilliant white, lighting up the dim engine room. I must tell my leaders what I have found. Your people must prepare for a meeting with the Galactic Council. Everything will change now. Before Greg could say anything else, the alien touched a device on its wrist and vanished, leaving behind only a faint smell like ozone. Greg stood there for a long moment, his repair tools forgotten in his hand. What had the alien seen when it scanned the ship? What was so special about humans that made them different from other species? He tapped his communicator. Mitchell to Commander Harrison. Harrison here. What is it, engineer? Sir, I need to report a security breach. One of the Void Seers was just in the engine room. It scanned our quantum core. There was silence for a moment. Then Harrison's voice came back, tight with tension. Where is the alien now? Gone, sir. It vanished. But before it left, it said something about us surviving the Great Filter when no one else did. It said we need to prepare for a meeting with the Galactic Council. Another silence, longer this time. Report to the bridge immediately, Mitchell. Tell no one what you saw or heard. That's an order. Yes, sir. Greg put away his tools and headed for the bridge, his mind racing. The aliens had been watching humanity for years, expecting them to destroy themselves like every other species had. But humans hadn't. And now, for some reason, that fact was about to change everything. The emergency meeting room of Earth's United Space Command buzzed with tension. All fleet admirals sat around the large round table, along with key diplomatic staff. Admiral Porter stood at the head of the table, her face serious. In the center of the room sat a single Void Seer. This was not Ambassador Zilrian, but a different alien who introduced himself as High Theorist Cylorn. His skin was a calm blue, but small ripples of gold moved across it as he watched the humans. Thank you all for coming on such short notice, Admiral Porter said. High Theorist Cylorn has requested this meeting to share important information with us. The alien nodded his head slightly. We owe your species an explanation, he began, his musical voice filling the room. And an apology. The room went quiet. Apologies from alien species were rare. Admiral Porter leaned forward in her chair. We're listening. Our people have studied many intelligent species across our galaxy, Zylorn said. 17, to be exact. We have built mathematical models that can predict how these civilizations will develop over time. And these models are accurate. Asked Secretary of Space Defense Richard Jones, a tall man with gray hair. They have never been wrong, the alien said simply. Each of these 17 species followed the same pattern. They discovered technology, advanced quickly, and then destroyed themselves through war, artificial intelligence problems, or damage to their home planets. We call this pattern the Great Filter. And you thought we would follow this pattern too? Admiral Porter asked. We knew you would, Zylorn corrected her. Our predictions have never failed. When we first heard your radio signals hundreds of years ago, we began to study your civilization from afar. All our models showed you would destroy yourselves within 100 years of discovering how to split the atom. But we didn't, Commander Harrison said from his seat near Porter. No, you did not. The alien skin rippled with more gold patterns. This has never happened before. You are the first exception we have ever found. When you created faster-than-light travel, we knew we had to meet you in person. But why refuse to scan our ships? Harrison asked the question everyone wanted answered. Because our scanning technology doesn't just see physical objects, Xylorn explained. It sees possible futures by mapping quantum probabilities. We were afraid of what we might find, the reason why you defy our predictions. And now one of your people performed a scan anyway, Porter said. It wasn't a question. Xylorn's skin darkened to deep blue. Yes, and what they found was unexpected. What did they find? Junior Engineer Mitchell asked. He had been invited to the meeting because of his encounter with the alien in the engine room. They found that humans possess something no other species we have studied has, a unique contradiction in how you think. You plan for the worst disasters possible, yet you act as if tomorrow is guaranteed. Your ships carry powerful weapons, yet also carry art and music. Your military vessels hold both soldiers ready for war and families with children. The alien leaned forward, his galaxy eyes looking at each human in turn. Every other species we have found focuses either on surviving or on moving forward. You somehow do both at the same time, creating an uncertainty in your future that our models cannot predict. The humans looked at each other, surprised. This was what made them special. So our contradictions are why we survived? Admiral Porter asked. Yes, the Voidseer said. And they are also why we fear you. Admiral Porter stared at the screen in her office, reading the message again. It had arrived 3 hours ago from the Galactic Council, and its words were as cold as space itself. All Voidseer personnel are to leave human space immediately. No further contact is allowed without Council approval. This order takes effect now. Commander Harrison stood beside her desk, his face grim. They're pulling their people out. After everything we just learned. Porter switched off the screen and looked up at him. It seems the Council doesn't share Xylorn's interest in our unique contradictions. Before Harrison could respond, Lieutenant Taylor burst into the office. Her normally neat uniform was wrinkled, and her eyes were wide with worry. Admiral, we have a situation, she said, trying to catch her breath. Our long-range sensors have detected a massive group of ships at the edge of our solar system. At least 200 vessels, maybe more. Harrison's body went stiff. 200. The entire human fleet is only 63 ships. They're not just pulling their people out, Porter said, her voice low and hard. They're setting up a blockade around our entire solar system. Taylor nodded. It looks that way, ma'am. Porter stood up and walked to the window. From her office on the space station, she could see Earth below, peaceful and blue. How quickly things had changed. 3 days ago, humanity was celebrating their new friendship with the galaxy's smartest species. Now they were being trapped in their own solar system. The door opened again, and Lieutenant Olivia Taylor walked in, carrying a datapad. Admiral, we've translated more of the Voidseer scientific database they shared before the withdrawal order. There's something you need to see. She placed the pad on Porter's desk. The screen showed a complex mathematical model with a pulsing red dot representing humanity. According to this, Taylor explained, keeping her voice steady, we're not just different because we survived. We're a threat to their entire way of thinking. Our continued existence creates a growing wave of uncertainty that undermines the math they use for everything, from how their ships fly to how they plan their economy. We're a threat because we didn't die when their math said we should, Harrison asked, his voice rising in disbelief. No, sir, Taylor shook her head. We're a threat because we represent a solution they don't understand. The Void Seer who scanned our ship discovered that what did they call it? Our quantum probability field doesn't just refuse to be predicted, it actively changes the probability fields around it. Harrison's eyes widened as he understood. You mean we're changing their future just by existing? Exactly, sir, Taylor nodded. And according to these equations, the effect gets stronger the more we interact with other species. Admiral Porter sat down heavily in her chair. So that's why they're quarantining us. We're not just an anomaly to them. We're a disease that could spread. A disease of unpredictability, Harrison said quietly. What are our options, Admiral? Taylor asked. Porter looked at the data pad again, at the pulsing red dots surrounded by equations she couldn't understand. Humanity had survived nuclear weapons. They had survived climate change and artificial intelligence. They had survived every challenge that had destroyed 17 other species. Now they faced a new one, being cut off from the galaxy because they were too unpredictable to be allowed to roam free. We need to talk to the Council directly, she said finally. If humanity's special gift is being contradictory and unpredictable, then let's use that. They expect us to either accept their quarantine or fight against it. Let's do something they won't expect. What do you have in mind? Harrison asked. Porter's eyes narrowed. I'm not sure yet, but whatever we do, it needs to be something their models could never predict. This is completely insane, Secretary Jones said, pacing back and forth in the war room. His face was red with anger. They've put a fence around our entire solar system because our existence makes their fancy math harder. The emergency meeting had been going for hours. Around the table sat the highest-ranking military and government officials of Earth. Holographic maps showed the growing alien blockade, now over 300 ships forming a sphere around the solar system. It's more basic than that, explained Dr. Wilson, rubbing his tired eyes. Their whole civilization is built on being able to predict things. We represent chaos to them. Admiral Porter studied the display. The human fleet was tiny compared to the alien armada. We can't fight our way out of this. Even with what we've learned from their shared technology, they outnumber us by 5-1. Lieutenant Commander Natalie Brooks, the fleet's top diplomatic officer, had been quiet during the meeting. Now she spoke up. We don't need to fight. We need to use the very thing they fear. All eyes turned to her. They won't scan our ships because they're afraid of the uncertainty we create. Brooks continued, her voice growing stronger. So let's give them more uncertainty. Let's send a single unarmed ship directly toward their blockade. A suicide mission? Harrison asked with a frown. No, a peace mission. With me on board, Brooks said firmly. Their models can't predict what we'll do because we're full of contradictions. So let's be as unpredictable as possible. Let's answer their quarantine with an offer of friendship. Porter nodded slowly, thinking it through. And who do you want to take with you on this mission? Engineer Mitchell, Brooks replied without hesitation. The Void Seer made contact with him specifically in the engine room. There must be a reason for that. And I want a quantum physicist who can understand their probability models. This is a huge risk, Secretary Jones warned, stopping his pacing. What if they destroy your ship as soon as you approach? That's the point, Brooks said. They can't know what we'll do, but we also can't know what they'll do. Perfect uncertainty on both sides. But sitting here waiting for them to decide our fate is the worst option. At least this way, we control how we introduce uncertainty into their equations. The room fell silent as everyone considered her words. Finally, Admiral Porter stood up. I approve this mission. Prepare the U.S. Horizon, our smallest diplomatic vessel. No weapons, minimal crew. Just enough to show we come in peace. Thank you, Admiral, Brooks said. Don't thank me yet, Porter replied grimly. This could still end very badly. But you're right. Doing nothing is worse. As the meeting broke up, Engineer Mitchell approached Brooks nervously. Commander, why did you choose me? I'm just a junior engineer. Brooks looked at him carefully. Because that Void Seer didn't scan the bridge or the weapons systems or any of our technology. It scanned our engine room, where you were working. But why? I have a theory, Brooks said. Our engines represent our ability to move forward, to explore. And you were fixing something broken, showing care for the ship. Maybe what scared them, what they saw in their scan, was something simple, something human. Mitchell looked confused. Like what? Like hope, Brooks said softly. The fact that even when things break, we fix them and keep going. That even with all our contradictions, we still move forward. Maybe that's the real human anomaly. As they walked toward the shuttle bay to prepare for their dangerous mission, Mitchell felt a strange mix of fear and pride. In all the galaxy, humans were the only ones who had survived the Great Filter. Now they had a chance to show the galaxy why. Whether the galaxy was ready for that answer remained to be seen. The small diplomatic vessel U.S. Horizon flew through the darkness of space. It was tiny compared to the massive Voidseer ships that formed a wall ahead of them. On the bridge, Lieutenant Commander Brooks sat calmly in the captain's chair while Engineer Mitchell stood nervously beside her. "They're hailing us," reported the communications officer. "Put them on screen," Brooks ordered, straightening her uniform. The screen lit up, showing Ambassador Xilrian. The alien skin was cycling through agitated patterns of red and orange. "Turn back immediately, humans," Xilrian said. "The Council has quarantined your system. No ships may leave." "Ambassador, we come in peace," Brooks replied calmly. "We carry no weapons. We request a meeting with the Council to discuss our mutual future." "There can be no meeting," the alien said firmly. "Your species represents an unacceptable uncertainty factor in our models." Mitchell stepped forward, surprising even himself with his courage. "The uncertainty works both ways, Ambassador. Your scientist learned something when he scanned our ship, something important enough that you're willing to send your entire fleet to contain us." The alien's skin pulsed rapidly with colors. "You don't understand the danger you represent." "Then help us understand," Brooks said. "The Voidseer who scanned our ship saw that humans are full of contradictions. We plan for disaster while still believing in tomorrow. We build warships that carry families. We prepare for the worst while creating art and music. Those contradictions create uncertainty fields that disrupt our predictive models," Xilrian admitted. "And that scares you," Brooks nodded. "But think about this. In all your models, in all your predictions, did you ever think we would respond to your blockade with a single unarmed ship?" The alien went still. Its skin settled into a deep blue color. "No, that possibility never appeared in any of our calculations." "Then maybe your models are missing something important," Mitchell suggested. "Maybe the uncertainty we create isn't a threat, but a chance to grow beyond just predictions into something new." Brooks leaned forward in her chair. "Ambassador, you called it the Great Filter. The challenge that destroys intelligent life. What if the filter isn't technology or war or environmental problems? What if it's predictability itself? What if species that can be perfectly predicted are doomed to follow those predictions to their end?" The ambassador was quiet for a long time. Finally, it spoke. "The Council must hear this idea. Your thinking changes everything we believed." As the communication ended, Brooks turned to Mitchell with a small smile. "And that, engineered, is why the smartest aliens refuse to scan human warships. Not because they're afraid of our weapons." Mitchell nodded, understanding now. "But because they're afraid of our hope. Our ability to believe things can be better, even when all evidence says otherwise." 3 days later, the U.S. Horizon returned to Earth with news that the blockade was lifting. The Galactic Council had agreed to open formal relations with humanity. There would be careful rules and limits at first, but humans would not be trapped in their solar system. That evening, Admiral Porter stood with Brooks and Mitchell, watching the alien ships begin to disperse from Earth orbit. "You know what's ironic?" Porter said. "For all their advanced technology and incredible intelligence, what saved us was something simple, something very human." "What's that, Admiral?" asked Mitchell. "The fact that we're messy," she smiled. "We don't make sense. We fear the future but work to make it better anyway. We build warships and fill them with gardens. We're walking contradictions. And now the galaxy's smartest beings want to learn from us," Brooks added. As the three of them watched the stars, a new chapter was beginning. Humanity had survived the Great Filter not despite their contradictions, but because of them. And now, those same contradictions would help them take their place among the stars. Not as the strongest or the smartest, but as the ones who never stopped hoping, even when hope made no sense at all. E&D